Okay, so let's talk about it. Is the concept of marriage just an earthly institution, or is it something that we can experience in heaven? So, no, marriage is not something that we can experience in heaven. And actually, this post is biblically accurate, and I'm going to explain why. So, you are correct in the sense that we will live by God's original design. However, God's design for earthly man is going to be completely different for a heavenly spirit. The purpose of marriage itself was for us to draw closer to God through partnership. If you look at it as a triangle, it is literally exactly that. God is at the very top, and we are striving to get to Him. Marriage was also created so that we could obviously subdue the earth. And with our multiplication, we are to create young men and women who grow to love God and will continue the ministry and expand and make heaven crowded. We all belong to God, and none of us will belong to each other anymore. And let me take you to the book because this is always going to validate it. Okay, so in Matthew chapter 22, verse 30, it says, "For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as angels of God in heaven." Now, that alone is enough to shut this whole conversation down. You can obviously read this chapter in context so you can really understand that it does support that we would not be married in heaven. Outside of this, I definitely wanted to address some of the other comments that I had on this video, specifically asking, will we be able to recognize our loved ones in heaven? Absolutely. Yes, we will be able to recognize the loved ones that make it into heaven with us. Absolutely. The parable of the rich man, the beggar, and Abraham actually supports this in Luke chapter 16. You can read this chapter more for context, but just to give you guys a synopsis, basically the rich man was in Hades and he was talking to Abraham and he was saying, "Please let my family know. I don't want them to be in torment like I am right now." Abraham let him know, "I'm not going to go and tell your family about that. That's what the prophets are here on earth for." So by this, we know that there is some level of consciousness that anyone would have, whether in heaven or in hell. However, I believe that consciousness would be totally different for those who are in hell versus those who are in heaven. Let's take it back to the book. In Isaiah 65, verse 17, it says, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind." In 18, it says, "But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy." So by this, we would know that people who are in heaven would be able to recognize those who have also made it to heaven, but I don't believe that those who are in heaven will be able to understand or know those who did not make it to heaven. And why is that? Is because our minds can only conceptualize joy once we have this new mind, which means that anyone who didn't make it to heaven, it would cause us to feel sorrow and pain, right? Therefore, we would never be able to know who didn't make it to heaven. And another scripture that supports this is when Jesus says, "Depart from me, I never knew you." Therefore, we would not have any recognition of those who are in hell.